Hi everybody, this is Megan Garza with Megan Garza Wellness. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner, health coach, and yoga instructor, and you're listening to the Restoring Balance podcast. More women than ever are now dealing with digestive, hormonal, and skin issues and are not finding satisfactory answers or results. On this show, I teach you how to implement holistic lifestyle, dietary, and mindset strategies to help you get smooth digestion and balanced hormones to reclaim your health, feel confident about your decisions, and to finally live life on your terms. Hello everyone, welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 22, and the title of today's episode is The Dark Side of the Fitness Industry. Before we get into today's episode, if you're a fan of the show, this is just a reminder of how you can support the podcast by giving it a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcast, which helps the algorithm get my show to other listeners who would benefit from it just like you. So without further ado, let's dive in. The topics that I'm going to be covering today is unhealthy workouts and how we've been tricked and lied to about what is actually good for us, the toxic influencers and fitness culture around this, and also the pitfalls of social media, supplements that are dangerous and even toxic that are being promoted as healthy, dieting and fasting and the dangers of these things, and lastly, how to find balance amongst all the noise. So first, I want to say that fitness in America is not part of our lifestyle. Being healthy is not part of the American way. The American way is all about convenience and gluttony and just indulging as much as possible with very little emphasis on health. So if you do want to get healthy, this is something extra that you have to do. It's not like it is integrated into our culture, like you bike to work, you go get coffee with your friend, and you walk to the coffee shop. That is not the lifestyle that has been cultivated here in America. So instead, fitness is sold as a package or a product. So it is something that you pay for, and your life is not centered around health. So if you do want to get healthy, it's some extracurricular activity that you do before or after you go to work. And this is very unfortunate because it leaves very little time and room to actually create an entire lifestyle that is centered around health. When you pay for a gym membership or something like that, it's typically going to be somewhere inside. It's going to have some kind of workout activity, maybe a group class or something like a HIIT workout or CrossFit or spin class or even running or super heavy weight training. And for a lot of women, this is not what we need because there's really little emphasis on functional movement and just push yourself, go as hard as you can, as fast as you can. So I'm not saying that these things are inherently bad. I'm not saying HIIT workout is one of the worst things in the world or spin class is something you should never do, but there's no balance with these things. And that's what is very unhealthy for people because these exercises are typically designed for you just to push yourself in a very unhealthy way. And it's not centered around female physiology and our cycles. And I'm not going to get too much into the whole topic of female physiology and cycles because I do have an entire episode on this. It was back in episode 9 called Exercise for Female Physiology and Cycle Syncing, where I go into great detail about these things. So if you want to learn more about cycle syncing, I highly suggest you go check that episode out. And the problem with a lot of these exercises is that they are typically designed to be very high intensity. They're designed mostly for men, and women are not small men. We cannot exercise the same way that men do because we are different. And that is a very beautiful thing because men can endure more stress. They are stronger. They have larger lung capacity. And they're just capable of doing things that women physically cannot do. And that is okay. We do not need to be like men. And we need to embrace the fact that we are women and the fact that we are not going to be able to compete and keep up with them in that sense. Instead, we need to tune into our own bodies and ask them what our bodies want and what our bodies are looking for. Because we might look at some of the studies that have been done and say, oh, well, these exercises are excellent for weight loss and for burning fat and all of this stuff. But these studies are mostly done on men because men are just easier to study because women are more complex. And I think looking at that as a holistic view and not just saying, here's this study, it's black and white, I'm just going to do this thing that the study suggested, is a very narrow-minded viewpoint. And that's why looking at the whole picture is what we are going for. So now, cue the fitness influencers who are selling false hope to women. And this is what makes me so upset because it is a really toxic fitness culture that is largely pushed by influencers who have little to no knowledge or formal education on exercise and the human physiology and the human body. And this creates a very unsafe environment for women because if you are following someone who does not have knowledge about the human body and how it works and how females work specifically, it is going to lead to chaos in the mind and the body. And unfortunately, a lot of women who have followed these fitness culture influencers, they end up with a lot of problems like gut problems and hormone dysfunction and even things like acne. Because if you're following advice from someone who does not have your best interest at heart and they are just trying to sell you something, they don't care about you or your health. And these problems happen because they are pushing unhealthy lifestyles and they just want to sell you things like cheap supplements with really harmful fillers or fad diets or a protein shake or protein powder. And, you'll even see them promoting things like fasting and working out after and cold plunges for women and just the whole hustle culture mentality with really intense workouts and pushing yourself. And ultimately, this is going to lead to severe burnout. If you're not nourishing your body, mind, and soul, how can you expect to see the results that you want to see? And not to mention how much body fat is demonized. You see these women who are fitness influencers and they have such a small amount of body fat. And this is such an unrealistic goal for women. Instead, they should really be emphasizing what true health is really about. So things like high quality supplements, nutrient dense foods, blood sugar balance, functional movement rather than just killing yourself doing some crazy exercise that you saw on the internet. Also things like restorative sleep and listening to your body and resting when you need to rest. Because once again, the hustle culture is so ingrained into gym culture. And if you are not allowing your body to rest, your body cannot recover properly to actually be able to grow muscle and to burn fat. And if you've fallen into this trap and have been experiencing gut and hormonal dysfunction and it's showing up like symptoms of gas and bloating, constipation, or even irregular or painful periods or PMS or acne, book a free nutrition consultation with me. On this call, we'll discuss your concerns, your health and wellness goals, and ultimately see how nutritional therapy can help you. So I utilize a holistic approach that encompasses nutrition, lifestyle, and mindset strategies that are tailored specifically to your unique needs and goals. I'll put the link to book a free consultation with me in the show notes. Now onto the topic of social media. So social media creates unrealistic goals in a multitude of ways. So one of the ways that this is really prevalent is the fact that Photoshop or editing photos is so common now. You don't need to pay to do these things. There's a lot of free apps out there, and it's very deceptive because a lot of times these apps are really good and it makes fitness influencers look like they have these quote unquote perfect bodies and they don't have any lumps of fat or cellulite, or they have big breasts and a big butt. And this is just not how women are designed. That is not proportional or realistic to how most women are. And it is so toxic because it is creating an unrealistic expectation that women are getting. And these standards are really set by women. Women are basically dragging women down when they do these things because they want to convince other women that they can look just like this too if they buy their supplement or eat this specific diet or do X, Y, and Z, the thing that they're trying to sell you on. And even if it's not selling you on something monetarily, it could just be for views or likes or shares. So really being mindful of what you are looking at and understanding that a lot of this stuff is fake. And unfortunately, most of these fitness influencers are promoting really unhealthy and even dangerous workouts and body goals, and for the reasons why I just said. So, you'll see them doing these really intense exercises with these super chiseled bodies, and you'll see these influencers who are super fit and they have a really low amount of body fat. And ultimately, this can lead to severe digestive dysfunction, things like hormonal imbalance, acne, insomnia, hair loss, lack of appetite. And I mean, the list just goes on. And if you talk to people who are recovered fitness addicts, you will hear the same story over and over and over. Because the female body needs a specific amount of fat in order to thrive. So if you are getting down below 20% body fat, even below 25% body fat for some women, this is when the symptoms and problems can start to occur. So just because someone looks hot and sexy, they probably don't have it all together. I can almost guarantee you that they are experiencing a lot of health problems. But this goes to show you that fit bodies are not always healthy bodies, which is why you need to be really careful with what avenues you are listening to for health and wellness advice. And also the demonization of body fat on women is ridiculous because body fat is necessary. It's protective to our metabolism, to our internal organs, and even the brain and cardiovascular health. So when you see women who are really thin, or even if you're following a man who's very, very fit, he's probably having issues too. Now, I'm not saying you need to be overweight or obese because these have their own health problems that are associated with them, but finding that middle ground here is really what I'm advocating for. And this brings me to my next point, that a lot of working out and a lot of fitness culture in America is very aesthetic based. So people usually only work out to lose weight, or when they get some crazy health diagnosis, then that's when they start doubling down on their fitness and their exercise. So there's not really a true emphasis on health here, which is really sad. And this can lead to a ton of body image issues because if you are only working out to lose weight, and especially if you're using exercise as a punishment, this is a terrible strategy. It is potentially going to lead to things like anorexia, bulimia, even orthorexia, because if you are just punishing yourself to work out, that's not going to work. So instead, setting intrinsic goals, so things like for your own personal growth and development and to reach certain goals that are going to make you feel good. So if you're using unhealthy extrinsic goals like working out as a punishment so you don't get fat, or exercising off that cupcake that you just ate, that is horrible. You don't need to punish yourself. Exercise is not a punishment. It's something that you should be doing to make yourself feel good. And if you're exercising as a punishment, this is such a limited view of what fitness and movement are. It is almost an unappreciative view of it too, because the human body is such an incredible thing. And if you are just using movement as a punishment, that's almost taking it for granted in a way. So we're going to switch gears here and talk a little bit about the supplement industry and how they are cheap and potentially dangerous and even toxic. So a lot of times you don't really know what you are getting. So places like GNC and Vitamin Shop, it's all just a bunch of bullshit. Like there's really nothing in those supplements that is going to be nourishing to your body. And that's why I'm a huge advocate for food-based alternatives for supplements whenever possible. But if you are wanting to enhance your performance and to work out, please make sure that you are doing extensive research on what you are putting into your body and that it is a reputable brand who is very transparent about what they are putting into it. So the reason why these supplements are so dangerous is because they have a lot of fillers in them, stabilizers, and that can just be added to help with the consistency or even to reduce the manufacturing cost. And unfortunately, some of these supplements, they don't even contain what they say that they do, which is really sad. And it's very dishonest and slimy, because if you are trying to sell someone a certain type of supplement and it doesn't contain any of that, what are you doing? I mean, you are just lying to people at that point. So again, really being sure that what you are buying is legit is super important here. Some of the main additives that you are potentially going to see in supplements that you are going to want to avoid would be things like hydrogenated oils. Hydrogenated oils are very toxic for a multitude of reasons. I've talked about vegetable oil and hydrogenated oil multiple times and how they can cause inflammation and gastrointestinal upset. Also, artificial colors, so like food dye, red dye, blue dye, all of those things. There's literally no nutritional value in any of that, and they just do it because it makes the supplement look pretty. And the scary thing about this is it has been linked to hyperactivity, and it's derived from petroleum. Next, we have maltodextrin, which is an artificial sweetener that is heavily processed, and it can cause blood sugar spikes. Then there's also carrageenan, which is found in a lot of pseudo foods and stuff, especially vegan foods like plant-based milks. And it's been known to worsen stomach problems. So if you have a condition like IBS or colitis or something like that, it can cause bloating, gas, even diarrhea in some individuals. So avoid that at all costs. And then lastly, we have titanium dioxide. So titanium dioxide has been linked to skin irritation. And according to the International Agency for Research on Cancer, they've listed titanium dioxide as a group 2B carcinogen. So that means that it might be a carcinogen, but it lacks sufficient animal and human research to truly determine the outcome of that. To play it safe, just avoid titanium dioxide if you see it. And then another supplement that is really common in gym culture is steroid usage, or even something that is similar to steroids to enhance your muscles in a very unnatural way. And I know that this is typically more common in men, but I'm not going to pretend that women don't use steroids as well, because they do. And this is so harmful to the body. It is replacing the body's natural testosterone and just completely throwing your hormones out of whack. And if you want to see some really gnarly photos, look up on the internet what happens to people once they stop taking testosterone. So a lot of men, they will develop more fat tissue on their pecs. They will get severe cystic acne. I'm talking their backs and faces are just covered in acne, like super painful acne. Which goes to show you that the risks of taking these things significantly outweigh any potential benefits. And that's why I'm saying that a lot of this just goes back to aesthetics, because if you're just working out to look a certain way, do you really care about your health? If you truly cared about your health, you would be working out in a way that makes your body feel good, and not just because you want your body to have bigger biceps or stronger, bigger glutes, or, any of these things. Like, that's going to come with working out properly, but if that's your ultimate goal, that is not a health-focused goal. Now, onto the topic of food and fasting. So there's so much hype around fasting right now, and especially for women, this is horrible. Like, please, please, please do not fast before you work out. Please get something to eat, because if you are fasting when you are working out, this is putting your body into a very stressed state, and you are going to be running off of cortisol. You should have a big appetite in the morning, and if you don't, that's not some kind of cute, quirky, or even like a superpower that you have. That means that your body is literally screaming at you to stop running off of stress hormones. You should be working out in a nourished state, because exercise is stress to an extent. So if you are not giving your body nourishment that it needs in order to work out properly, you are going to see a lot of bad things start to happen. And this is really popular right now. There's so many women who I've even overheard at the gym when I go to work out saying that they go and fast before they work out. And like, I'm just screaming internally, because there's just no point in doing that. You're going to do your body more harm than good. And then on top of that, if you are adding a pre-workout, which contains a significant amount of caffeine, you are just blasting your adrenals, and this is going to lead to severe blood sugar dysregulation. So really getting some nourishment and some food in your body before you work out is going to lead to better results, because food contains calories, and calories are energy, and energy gives us what we need to do the tasks that we want. So that's really what's going to keep us going. And that's why fad diets and protein powders do not work, because they are not healthy, they are not sustainable. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of supplements are just really cheap and they are unhealthy for your body, and nothing can replace the nutrients that food is going to give you. So just because you see an influencer who's promoting a trendy diet like the carnivore diet or veganism or anything in between, that does not mean that it's going to work for you. So don't just focus on macronutrients or calories. The best diet for you is one that is properly prepared. It contains whole foods, nutrient-dense, minimally processed, and it includes a wide variety of foods. So things like meats, dairy, eggs, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, and everything in between. So really eliminating the ultra-processed foods and just trying to eat as close to nature intended is going to give you the maximum amount of results that you want. And then lastly, something that a lot of fitness influencers promote, this is gaining more traction about how dangerous it is in the holistic community, thankfully, is synthetic clothing. And this is extremely unhealthy because these materials are made from petroleum, and it contains phthalates and bisphenols, or otherwise known as BPA. And the really scary thing about this is that your skin is your largest organ, and it absorbs everything that you put on it. So if you are putting all the synthetic chemicals on it and you are sweating in them and there's a lot of friction, you are going to be absorbing those phthalates and BPA. Instead, just look for cotton or other natural materials when you're working out. So this includes things like your bra, your underwear, your socks, your shorts, your shirts. Try to just be as natural as possible with your clothing, and this is going to let your skin breathe, and it's going to make your skin feel so much better. Your skin's going to be a lot healthier. If your skin does not have the ability to breathe and it's in synthetic materials, it can lead to an increase of skin problems like acne, psoriasis, and eczema. So if those are things that you struggle with, switch out to a more natural material. Also, get in the shower after you work out, change your clothing, and that should really improve what you are dealing with. So with all that craziness said, how do you find balance in all this? How do you know what's BS and what's not? Just to reiterate, I do want to note that I'm not saying that going to the gym or exercising is bad, because I go to the gym myself. And really what I'm trying to get at is the poison is in the dose, and it's in what you are doing. So with that said, just don't push yourself when you cannot. And I don't mean that you should never push yourself a little bit past your limits, but what I'm trying to get at is don't always push yourself till you are a sweaty mess ready to vomit and then collapse, because that is not the goal that we are trying to go for. We're trying to make your body feel better and to promote healing and health and strength. And if you are just pushing yourself to the point that you want to pass out, that is not it. And also just don't focus so much on a lot of cardio. So you're really going to want to focus on building muscle and endurance. So you don't need to be doing 45 to 60 minutes of cardio every single day, because, I see so many women get on the treadmill or the elliptical for 45 minutes straight, and they're just going as fast as they can, as hard as they can. And, I'm just lifting weights and just doing what my body is asking me to. And when I go back, they are still running on the treadmill. And it just blows my mind, because that is just putting their bodies into such a stressed out state, which is going to lead to burnout because your body can only handle so much. So instead, you can look into weightlifting. Weightlifting has greatly improved my life. I can't even begin to tell you how much that it has improved my quality of life. Not only do you get the added benefit of muscle strength, but it also helps with blood sugar regulation, it helps with GI function, and also just keeping your body nice and strong to help protect the ligaments and joints. Opting for yoga, a nice relaxing yin yoga, or even just a slow flow can be really therapeutic, especially depending on where you are in your cycle. Again, I'm not going to go into all that. You can go back to episode 9 and to listen to what I'm talking about in cycle syncing, because it is really important as a female for you to understand that kind of thing. Walking is also really underrated. I think we should be walking significantly more than we already are. And since cars have been invented, our amount of walking that we do is so much less than what it should be. So if you have access to a nature trail especially, go out into nature and walk, because you're going to have the added benefits of being surrounded by fresh air, the birds, the beautiful sky, and if possible, even be barefoot, because that has the added benefit of grounding. And even redefining what you count as exercise, because exercise doesn't have to be like weightlifting or traditional things that you typically think of. So it could even be leisurely swimming or bike riding with a friend, or even gardening or playing with your kids. So, I mean, there's really a lot of things that we can do to get movement in that do not require a gym membership or equipment or anything that is really like crazy or inaccessible to a lot of people. Also, with balance, you really want to make sure that you are eating a balanced diet. So something that's not restrictive or not one that is mimicking what you see online. So something that is sustainable for you and it makes you feel good in your body. Also, sleep is a huge thing. This is something that our current culture of hustle culture and also just the toxic gym influencers and just the gym culture in general does not put enough emphasis on. You know, there's a lot of go, just push yourself, like sleep is for the weak, and we're past that point. We know how important sleep is, and I don't know why these things keep getting said and people keep promoting them, because sleep is part of your physical and mental fitness. So make sure that you are getting restorative sleep. And lastly, relaxation and rest cannot be emphasized enough. You have to have days off, and that includes days off from the gym. If you love exercising and it's to the point where if you do not exercise, you feel like you are trapped or there's something wrong, that could be some kind of exercise addiction. And I mean, these are real things. So really just allowing yourself to calm down and rest. And also, if you are really anxious when you don't exercise, this could be because you are running off stress hormones. So really tuning in and figuring out where that discomfort for relaxation comes from is going to be extremely helpful to get you to be able to relax. So that emphasis on relaxation is imperative. And that's pretty much it. That is everything that I wanted to talk about today about the dark side of the fitness industry. And the biggest takeaways for this episode is finding what works for you and to just tune out the noise that you see on social media and to not listen to these fitness influencers who are just selling you false hope. So lastly, just remember to take it step by step and to keep learning on your wonderful journey of wellness. Well, that's all the time that we have for. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Today we talked about unhealthy workouts and diets pushed by the fitness community, social media's role in perpetuating toxic gym culture, and how to find balance. You can expect new episodes every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just a quick reminder again of how you can support the podcast and stay in the loop. Make sure that you sign up for my newsletter. That way you can be notified I post a new podcast episode, make any new announcements about my services and how you can work with me, and also receive weekly relevant tips for digestion and hormones so you can optimize your health. You can find the link to sign up for my emails in the show notes or head to my website at megangarzawellness.com and you can wait for the pop-up or sign up under the freebies tab. Again, I just want to thank you for listening to this week's topic. Take care, everyone, and until next time.